Alright, how y'all doing? This is Rich coming back at you with another lens review. Today, we are taking a look at the SMC Pentax M40 F2.8. This is a fun little lens. These are actually quite hard to get because the demand for these lenses are quite high. Now, they do have more modern versions. I believe they have the DA and the HD or whatever. They have two different, when it comes to Pentax, they have modern versions of this lens. The caveat is, though, those modern versions do not have an aperture ring, which a lot of more high-end lenses from Pentax do also include an aperture ring. So I think that lends to the popularity or the demand for this lens. It is a 40mm focal range, which would be a 60 on a crop sensor. The cool thing about this little review is I actually took a little bit more time with it because I felt like this was such a unique focal range. I did actually use 3 different cameras to get the photos that you will see at the beginning and end of this video. I used the A7R2, which I am filming on right now with the 50mm. That is a full frame camera. I did use the Fuji X-T100, which is a crop sensor, and I also used the Pentax KP, which is also a crop sensor. Alright, so before we get into it, I just want to thank God for the ability to take these amazing photos. If it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't be able to take any of these amazing photos. So thank God for that. Okay, so we have the 4 categories: the affordability, the accessibility, the build quality, and the versatility of this lens here. I'm going to go ahead and stick it on the X-T100 because I just want to showcase how small this lens is. Alright, so first off, for price or the affordability of this lens, I gave it a 6. The reason why I did that is because there isn't a lot of other lenses that are comparable to this one. I didn't see any other third-party lenses or with Canon or Nikon or anything that were comparable. They're all around the same price. This one starts out around 60 usually when you're bidding for this lens individually. I luckily was able to pick it up with a kit. I spent about 80 bucks and I got 2 other lenses with it. So paying around, you know, 27, what is it, 27? Yeah, around like 27 or $25 per lens was actually not that bad, but it took me well over a year just to find that type of a deal. But most of the time, like I said, it starts around 70 and then it definitely is going to be over 100. Usually you can pick up this lens around a 150 and you can get a good copy of this lens. All other lenses that are 40 mils are around that price range. There's a fly, a really small one. And then if you look at the modern versions of this lens, you can actually pick up a modern version, one of the lower end versions of the lens, for less than what you pick up one of these SMC Pentax M's for used, which is kind of crazy. It's crazy that you can get a modern version of this lens for less than what the old school lens is going for. So very rarely do you see an occasion where that happens, and that would be this occasion. So for me, it's a 6. It's not super affordable, but it's got a lot of value to it. Resale value is going to be there. There's a lot of value, so it's not necessarily a terrible purchase. And it's not like it's $500 like some of the lenses are. I think the 44 is like that or something, or 74. So next, let's talk about the accessibility. Now, some people have griped and complained about how small this focusing ring is. It's very small. It is literally like a centimeter. And then the aperture control ring is just like almost every other SMC I've picked up. I get why people say it's a little difficult to initially use, but I think with the way people are nowadays and how small things are, I didn't really get caught up with it when I was on full frame KP or on this camera here, the X-T100. I didn't really get caught up on it. So for me, it was not that big of an issue. Being able to focus on things close up was not an issue. Focusing on things far away was not an issue. It's a really cool focal range. 60 on the crop sensor is not that hard to figure out. 40 on a full frame, again, not super hard to figure out. So I think there is a lot of accessibility with it. It's super small, super lightweight. I think it's super easy to use. For me, it's an 8 on accessibility. There are going to be some caveats to it. Maybe it is harder for some people to use, especially if you don't have an adapter. It will be a little bit harder, like it was on the KP. It was a little bit harder. But other than that, it is a very easy lens to use, so that's an 8 for me. So next, let's talk about build quality. The build quality is fantastic. Super simple lens, super tiny. This thing is built like a tank. I definitely love the build quality. It is not dustproof or weatherproof, but everything else is amazing. The lettering, everything is just perfect on this lens. The coating is fantastic. I didn't have any issues with that. So I actually rated it a 9.5. It's not dustproof or weatherproof, so I cannot give it a 10. It does not have autofocus, it does not have auto aperture, but dang is it easy to service and dang is it easy to use. I am pleasantly surprised and I enjoy using this lens and just enjoy the build quality and how it feels. So for me, it's a 9.5. All right, let's talk about the versatility of this lens. What can this lens do? Really, this lens can do a lot of things. It is extremely versatile. 40 to 60 millimeters is the range in which you can get it with the crop sensor. You're 60, full frame is 40, and you use it for everything. Portraits look fantastic, flower photography looks great, animals look good, architecture looks great, except for like if you need a really wide lens for that, or if you want a really grandeur landscape, then this is not going to be the lens for that. But just a walk around lens, this is fantastic. You can use it for almost every situation and you can take fantastic photos. I think on a full frame, this thing is a powerhouse. I think on a crop sensor, this thing is perfect for blending in. Almost nobody even knows you have it or you're using it. I was able to get away with so many photos having a camera this small and a lens this small. Absolutely fantastic, super easy to use. And I was just blown away by the versatility of it and everything I was able to use it with. Definitely, I highly recommend it. Like I said, the portraits came out great. I didn't feel like anybody was really blown out too wide. I think the car photos looked fantastic. I feel like I didn't have to go too far or too close to get stuff into focus or get them into get the composition right. I think it was just spot on and pretty intuitive. So it is an extremely versatile lens. Again, you're not going to be able to take pictures of birds all the time. You're not going to be able to take this out to the woods and get those amazing, nature shots. You're not going to be able to get those super wide architecture shots or interior shots. They're not going to be super wide. And you're not going to get those super slim portrait shots, but it is definitely one of the more versatile ones. It's in that very versatile range, and I think it has a lot of versatility, which is a 9 for me on the versatility. So overall, this is going to be an 8 out of 10. Do I recommend this lens? I absolutely do recommend this lens for your kit. If it was up to me, if you were a beginner, I think this is one of those lenses that you can shell out a little extra money to get. It is so small, so versatile, and almost weighs nothing and can fit in any bag that it is 100% worth it to get it. You get one of these, you can almost forget bringing a 35, you can almost forget bringing a 28 unless you absolutely love shooting with those focal ranges. You can even forget bringing a 50 and then just go with an 80 or a 105 in lieu of anything else. This is definitely going to be a killer lens. It's almost there on the 75. It's right there on the 50 line, and it's right there with the 40 line. If you have a full frame camera that has the ability to crop down, this lens is a huge powerhouse, and it just eliminates a lot of lenses that you need to carry with you. Also being the fact that it's a prime and it's super fast. So this is extremely versatile for a beginner, and it would be a pleasure to start out with without getting too caught up in having to get super close, having to get super far. This is going to be really good for that. And then if you are just a professional and instead of busting out one of your giant lenses, you can really just use this prime and run and gun and take some amazing photos in the city, be able to stow this away whenever you need to, and then pop it out whenever you want and snap your photos. I think it is a great lens. I get why there's such a high demand for this lens, and I get why people just hold on to them, because this is probably one of the lenses I am not getting rid of. I am keeping it, and I'm going to love using it. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that helps, and if you are on the edge on whether or not you want to pick up one of these 40 mils, hopefully this pushes you over the edge, because I think you will absolutely love it. And if you don't love it, let me know. Please comment down below. If you use a 40 mil with a different brand, I know the Lumix has the 20 millimeter, and that's micro four thirds, so that ends up being a 40 millimeter. So let me know how you feel about that one. I have not picked that one up. I have the 14, I have two 12 to 60s, and I have the 25. So please let me know if the Lumix one is worth it, if I should go out and get it for my micro four thirds. If you have the Canon version of this lens, let me know. If you have any of the modern versions of the Pentax lenses, let me know how they perform, especially comparatively to the older version. I would love to hear that. All right, guys, thank you so much. God bless. See you later.